Def Apparel. And yeah, major moves in a minor way, you did?
Please welcome your host to the mic.
Major moves in a minor way. We on the road right now with the owner, the founder of FRESH2DEF Apparel, Mr. Ramon Carter. What's going on with you, champ?
I am FRESH2DEF Apparel.
I am FRESH2DEF Apparel. What's going on with you, player?
Man, ain't nothing, man. Just trying to pick up these kicks, man. Other than that, man, just trying to stay active, man. Just trying to stay active, man. Just trying to take this brand to the next level. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So, you know, we gonna get there. You know, piece by piece, thread by thread, shirt by shirt, pants, sweatsuits, all that. We gonna get it spread. We gonna get it.
I feel that, man. So, hey, when inspired you to come out with the brand?
Man, like, well, I always wanted to come out with a brand. I always wanted to start a clothing line. You know, that was actually, you know, one of my goals back in high school. But, you know, I always thought you had to go to FITM or go to a college, you know, to do it. But I say around 2011, I was coming out with sweaters and like crew necks and stuff, and you know, I was coming out with FRESH2DEF, you know, crew necks, and I really didn't have the desire to push it like that. I just was like making my own clothes, you know, making me like crew necks and putting FRESH2DEF on there, and then I would make like hats. You know, I was gonna give me a hat, and I'll put FRESH2DEF on there. You know, and I would go to the swap meet and have them, you know, embroider FRESH2DEF on my hat. And then I just started figuring out, like, dang, you know what, I can start selling this. And I was a barber at the time, and I was selling them, and it was good. You know, I was selling, but I wasn't really tripping off the profit, because I was taking the money and I was buying shoes with it. You know, like, it's just like a little hustle, but I wasn't really taking it serious. And then I would say around 2020, during the pandemic, you know, I'm sitting around the house and it's cold and we quarantining, and I'm cold as hell in the house, and I'm wearing these FRESH2DEF old sweaters that I had, and I was like, you know what, I need to bring this back out, but this time I need to get serious with it. And you know, I was saying for a long time, I was telling myself, I'm gonna come out with this, I'm gonna come out with this. And I remember I was talking to my uncle, and I told him, I said, I'm about to come out with a clothing line. And he told me, you know what, nephew, I heard you say that a few times. You know, stop putting stuff off that you can do today for tomorrow, because you never know when God gonna call you home. And like, that really, like, it did something to me, and it made me say, you know, let me get serious with this stuff, because, you know, I keep talking about it, but, you know, stop talking about it and be about it. And then right then and there, you know, I'll call LegalZoom. I got everything I need to do, you know, all the paperwork I need to do, you know, and then I end up getting me a what you call it, a DBA. And once I got the DBA, it was on and cracking. And then, you know, I just started, you know, putting my mind to it, coming out with styles and different, just trying to come out with my base gonna be, you know, what I'm gonna be selling, you know, and what's my age target, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the rest was history, man. And I just took off. I want to say it was more like June 2020, I started putting it together, and then October 2020 is when I dropped my first merch, and it was off to the races after that. And so yeah, that's that's in a nutshell how I started. And yeah, it made it happen. Here we are, 2026, and I'm still trying to make it to the next level, day by day. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that. What is the next level? You looking to maybe get into some stores, maybe open up a store for yourself? I know you got the online website.
Yeah, that's the big goal right there. The goal is to get me a store. You know, I told myself I was gonna give myself 4 years. Then I'm gonna get me a store. And so yeah, that's the ultimate goal, is to open me a couple of stores. You know, right now I'm just trying to figure out exactly what direction, what area, you know, I'm gonna put the store in and go from there. You know, it's about location. You know, but I didn't want to hop out and hop in the middle of the street. So you say, meaning like, just go out there and get me a store. And I'm not really established yet. So I decided, you know, what I was going to do is I was going to kill the streets. You know, just kill the streets. You know, push the brand so people will be aware of who I am. And then once people, you know, get a whiff of who I am, you know, they put the face to the brand, then I can open me a store. I don't want to open up a store and be hustling backwards, you know? All right, so, you know, I think right now I'm ready. You know, so I'm thinking by the end of the year, the end of 2026, beginning of 2027, that's what I'm working on, you know. So I could do it right now, but I'm pacing myself, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to rush. You know, because I don't want to be in a situation where, you know, open up a store and it close. You know? Yeah. You know, I see that a lot. I see a lot of people, you know, open up a store and it ain't there. It lasts about a year. And so, you know, I'm trying to look at, you know, targeting like open up a store, or I can be open at least 10 plus years. You know, so yeah, that's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. You know.
Any special collabs you looking to make happen, or in progress of making happen?
Not right now. I'm hopefully, you know, sometime soon. But right now, I've just really been focusing on myself, you know, on the brand. You know, sooner or later, you know, I got some couple of people that have been wanting to collab, but you know, I really trying to collab with somebody that got a positive movement. You know, to each his own. But a couple of brands that's reaching out, or their brand has kind of got like a drug, you know, backing, and I really ain't trying to, you know, have my brand attached to nothing like that. You know, right. You know, so you know, no disrespect to nobody in their brand. Catch my drug.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you know, shout out to everybody, but you know, I want my brand to be on a positive note, positive message, you know. So yeah.
Who would be some fashion icon creators that inspired you along your way?
Well, you know, it's go back to like back in the day, back in the 90s, the Russell Simmons and the Puff Daddies and you know, the Fubu's. You know, those are you know, clothing brands that were in the 90s that really kind of, you know, motivated me to, you know, start my own clothing line, because, you know, Fubu was a big thing back in the day. To see, you know, 4 or 5 black brothers coming together to open up a brand and keeping the brand going for pretty much 10 years. You know, that was dope. You know, the Carcan Eyes, you know.
Yeah, throwback.
Yeah, you know, I grew up in them eras, you know, where people were starting their brands, the Meccas, you know, the Fat Farms, stuff like that. I said, you know what? I can can't do that. I've always been like in the fashion. I've always been into sneakers and clothes. So it was just like, you know, I already feel like I'm the freshest man alive. I got the confidence when I'm swagging. So I'm like, let me just give people the drip. Let me give people, you know, a piece of myself. Pause. You know, but you know, show them how to do this. You know, so I feel like I just want to put my personality in these threads. You know.
Right, right.
So that's what it is. That's what it's about. You know, those are the people that kind of like got me into feeling like empowering myself to start me a brand.
The 90s, pretty much the 90s entrepreneurs really did it for you. And I can relate to that too. The 90s was very influential, I think, in our era and time of what the black man is able and capable of doing, you know?
Right.
So you mentioned it, man. Big sneakerhead. What was your first pair of sneakers you ever bought yourself?
The first pair of sneakers I ever bought myself was the Air Jordan 11 Cobalts, i.e. low.
Okay.
Now, I'll never forget that. My mom told me if I watched the girls, my sisters, for the summer, that she would, you know, she would buy me some Jordans. And it was like she paid me. I forgot how much I got paid, but I got paid daily. And, you know, I made enough money from watching my sisters to go buy me some J's. And I remember I went to this shoe store in Pomona called, I think it's called Athletic Express or something like that. And, yeah, or Shoe Palace or something like that. But yeah, I'll never forget, I got my first pair of J's, man. Like, for real. So yeah, that's a good ass memory. I got a pair of those right now. I was gonna actually wear those a few days ago, you know. But I got the retro pair that came out.
Right.
You know.
Ain't those like the 11s, the PEs?
Yeah.
Kind of like
Yeah. What's that? They IE.
Right. Yeah, I think that might be one of the first pairs that I bought myself too. That's crazy. Favorite Air Jordan?
My favorite Air Jordans, the 11s, of course.
Okay.
Concours. Yeah, Concours. I got tattoos on my arm of shoes, you know?
Right.
Real. The 11s is on there, on my arm. Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with the 11s, bro. Like, for real.
What about Michael Jordan appealed to you so much?
Man, just being a kid and watching, you know, the hard work he put in into being the greatest. You know, his whole story, watching him, you know, be a winner. You know, his intangibles and, you know, his killer instinct, you know, just gravitated me to him, because I felt like just the way he went about winning and being a leader, to me, that is just the quintessential way of being great. You know, it don't really get no better than that. Hold on. At the highest level, man, you know, was just like, it just really just put a thought in my head of what greatness really is. You know, I seen Joe Montana, I seen the way he won, I seen Jordan, I seen the way he won, and those two players, you know, growing up that I watched win at the highest level, you know, they were the type who wasn't worried about stats, they was worried about winning. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit different these days. These cats these days, they worried about more stats than anything. Winning's not really important these days, but you know, I'm trying to win. You feel me? So I just think the winning aspect All right, let me go to 7-Eleven.
I'll tell you the difference.
Nah, I need the cash right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to go get some weed right now too and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I need to here, let me go to the store real quick.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
I've been waiting for them to come off since 2002. Like, for real. It's just certain shoes that I didn't get back in the day that I'm just motivated to get. Like, you know how that shit be.
Yeah.
And it's been since then. And it's crazy those just now coming about. They ain't retro. And that's not original colorway.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? But them is hard.
All right, man. So Michael Jordan,
The GOAT.
showed you resilience, showed you how to be a winner,
Yeah.
showed you how to thrive, push through, inspired you, motivated you.
Mm-hmm. Never quit.
So that brings me to a topic that many people who don't know, who might have seen you along the way, might ask, might wonder. You know what I'm saying? Can you talk to me about how you got into your chair?
Man, I got hit by 6 buses. Nah, I was in a tragic car accident on my way to work. July 19, 2003. Man, it's crazy. It was that long ago. It seemed like yesterday. But, yeah, I was on my way to work and had a blowout on the freeway. Lost control of the car and fell 30 feet from my car. Got ejected. Was found like 20 feet from my car. Car was crushed up like a can. And yeah, I'm over here trying to breathe and trying to catch my breath, man. Come to find out, I did 6 months in the hospital. And in the process, I lost my ability to walk. And just trying to, since then, I've been trying to get back on my feet. Slow progress is still progress. But that's ultimately what happened to me, man. Something tragic. I wasn't doing nothing illegal. I just was on some positive stuff on my way to work. And the devil was trying to kill me. He was trying to take me up out of here. And man, Jesus Christ said, nope. And I prayed too. When it was happening, I was saying, Jesus saved me. Because, our grandfather had taught us, how to pray. And that was my first time being in something tragic like that happening to me. And I remembered to pray. And I think that's the reason why I'm still here, man. I could be dead right now. Because you don't just fall 30 feet in a car and still be living. So I just take the good and the bad. And I just look at it like, hey, I'm still living. And that's why I live the way I live. That's why I go so hard. Because I feel like I've been given extra innings or overtime to live right now. So with that being said, I gotta make it count,
Right.
So yeah, that's what happened. A lot of people think I got shot, but nah, that ain't what happened, y'all. That ain't what happened. So yeah, that's the story.
I was just asking, how did the accident shape your mindset? How did that experience shape you, pretty much, for who you are today? From when it happened, everything you went through, therapy, rehab.
It just, to me, I feel like it gave me a sense of urgency. Like, I don't have time to be complacent. I got, you never know how long you're going to be here. Life is short. And when you go through something tragic, it really gives you you observe life. You look at it differently, like, you don't take things for granted. Like, every day is, a day to be thankful. Because you never know, never know what the day gonna bring. So, you could be here today and gone tomorrow. You could be walking today, pushing tomorrow. You could be healthy today, sick tomorrow. So, you know, it just gave me a attitude to just be thankful. I'm not to say I wasn't thankful then, but you know, when you go through something tragic like that, you really, well, me, you know, you really look at life totally different. You know, you cherish every day, cherish every opportunity, and you know, you really look at everything differently. Like, I don't put myself in situations that's, you know, don't put my life in danger. You know, I don't have time to even be going through nothing like tragic like that no more. So I try to be careful with what I do, where I go. You know, I want to put myself in a situation where something tragic like that gonna happen, even though I was on my way to work. But that just shows you how life is precious. I was on my way to work and had a car accident, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so, you never know, man. You never know, but that's what I think. I think it gave me a sense of urgency. You know, I'm trying to figure out, like, what I want to do. You know, I feel like I want to, you know, what my legacy gonna be. I don't want to just be considered as just a handicap. You know, I want to be considered somebody who been through something tragic and turned the negative into a positive. You'd be like, oh, you know, he got into a car accident, but look what he did afterwards. You know, so that's what I think. I'm just trying to turn my tragedy into a triumph. You know, and I feel like I've been doing a good job so far. You know, I can say, you know, if I can pat myself on the back, you know, I think that I've been doing a pretty good job of changing the narrative of how you think of somebody disabled. You know, I think there's a difference between handicapped and disabled. I don't want to be considered a handicap. I want to be looked at somebody disabled. You know, somebody handicapped is somebody who can't really do nothing. You know, disabled is just somebody who just got a setback. Might take them a little bit longer to do what able-bodied people do. You know, so that's what I think. You know, it did. It gave me a good attitude about life. But it takes you to go through something like that to really, you know, observe life differently. Because we take stuff like that for granted, man. We take just waking up in the morning for granted, man. That's such a blessing to wake up every day.
What advice would you give to an up-and-coming entrepreneur trying to find their way? Whatever their way may be to success.
Focus on you and your goals and what you want to do. Don't include nobody else in your future or your dream or your goal. You know, that's like me. You know, I could have started a clothing line with a couple of my homies, but I really don't think I would be where I am if I started off with other people. You know, so don't tell people your business when it's come to, you know, a goal or a dream. You know, keep it to yourself and don't talk about it, be about it. And like my uncle said, stop putting stuff off for tomorrow that you can do today. So hop on it right then and there. Don't just keep talking about doing it, just do it. And don't quit. Start what you finish. Never give up. It's gonna be hard days. It's gonna be good days. But the good days gonna outweigh the bad days. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you can't expect, you know, something to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. So once you look at it like that and give yourself time to grow. You just look at it like, you know, being an entrepreneur is, you gotta look at it as like a plant growing. You know, you plant a seed and then you watch it grow, but it takes time for it to grow. You know, you can't rush it. You can't rush success. You know, so you just gotta believe in yourself. You know, don't listen to outside critics. Don't listen to the haters. You gon' gang haters. You know, don't be worried about likes and who's following you and why your friends ain't supporting. Like, I think sometimes we get discouraged by little stuff like that. But if you stay focused, you know, stay on your marathon, have tunnel vision, you'll get closer to that light at the end of the tunnel. And that's my best advice, man, because it's so hard to get sidetracked. It is so hard to, and it's so easy to get discouraged, because you know you want something to happen overnight, you know, but success don't happen overnight. And if it does happen overnight, there's no longevity in that. You know, you want to be able to look back at where you've been and where you are. And so that's my advice for them. You know, stay focused, never give up, believe in yourself. You know, don't listen to the outside noise, and stay focused. Stay focused. Yeah. And it's gonna be hard, but when you bet on yourself, you know, you should be straight, because ain't nobody else gonna believe in you. You know, it's gonna be hard to get people to be like, you know what, I got faith in you. Because a lot of people ain't gonna believe in what you got going on. A lot of people gonna be like, oh, that shit gonna fail. Oh, that nigga ain't about to do nothing. You know, but use all of that as motivation. And that's what I do. I use everything as motivation. Like, I take everything personally, and I think that's my best attribute. You know, taking everything personally and use it as motivation. And if you do that, you'll be unstoppable. And find somebody that can motivate you. Like Michael, I use Michael Jordan. Some people use Kobe Bryant. Some people use LeBron. You know, but you gotta have somebody that you can look up to that been there. Maybe it's somebody, a successful actor, or Jay-Z, a rapper, somebody that inspired you, who took a road of betting on themselves and they got there. You know, sometimes we need certain people like that to motivate us to get where we need to go. And have God and pray, because praying works. You know, I don't know, you know, I'm not trying to tell other people to be religious, but you know, praying works. You know, that's where the belief come in. So, you know, I think that's the best way I can explain that, you know, as far as like giving people, you know, encouragement when it comes to starting a business, or, you know.
Yeah. Who is your favorite top 5 boxers of all time?
Damn, that was deep. Dang.
Any era. All eras.
My favorite boxer of all time is Sugar Ray Leonard. Like, he, to me, underrated. People don't talk about him that much, but I watched him in his prime. And I watch him, like, never give up. Like, he's somebody get knocked down, but it was like him getting knocked down made him mad. And he got up and whooped that ass, for real.
He definitely was a dog.
And you don't see that these days, for real. So, I didn't grow up watching Ali. That's before my time. But I seen enough of Ali to put him as my number 1 boxer of all time. Number 2 is Sugar Ray. Number 3 is Mike Tyson. Number 4. Number 4, that's a tough one. Maybe Roy Jones. Evander Holyfield. Okay. Evander Holyfield.
same question. You know, all time, all eras, all generations. Top 5 favorite wrestlers.
Favorite wrestler or just who I think is the GOAT?
Both.
Okay, my favorite wrestlers: Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. See, that's tough right there. John Cena.
That's crazy.
Sting. Don't have to be WWF, right?
Yeah, all generations, all eras.
Sting. Ultimate, I said Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Sting.
Said John Cena.
John Cena. Also, I got one more. Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake don't get enough love. But Jake was that dude back in the day, man, for real. The Snake Damien. How I used to put that snake on people. Man, that was the good old days, man. For real. You ain't seen nothing like that since. Can't even do that anymore.
I don't even know.
Think about that. That was in the 90s.
I feel like the 90s was an experiment for everything that is going on today. So everything that they put a policy on today in life in general.
But
the
it's
90s.
crazy. You don't see no animals and like you would think now.
Yeah, it might actually go against some, maybe some animal laws and things like that.
Yeah, you know how they are these days.
But in the case with Damien, he was actually a venomous snake. He didn't have any venom in him, so.
Yeah, well, pythons are not venomous.
Okay.
It was a python.
Okay. Yeah, I like that list though. That's an underrated list. So who would be your all-time wrestling GOAT?
Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan.
Despite all the
I feel like,
negativity.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I'm not glorifying what he's saying, but he said something that a lot of us say too. Like, even though what he said was foul, but I think we all talk like that behind closed doors. It was a private conversation that we heard that was foul, that we wasn't supposed to hear. If we never heard that, we wouldn't think bad of Hulk Hogan to this day. If we never heard that, we would never know.
Yeah, not facts.
That's the messed up part about it, because it's like, dang, now these days there's nothing private no more.
Yeah, in actuality, I don't think that he said anything wrong, and I feel like you're 100% correct. He was having a private conversation, and I don't even particularly think he was, being negative. Just said something that
he don't want his his daughter date no black dude. That's foul, but a lot of white people feel like that.
Well, I think he was more so emphasizing the fact that he was broke.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't think the issue was that he was black. Mainly, I think it was that he was black and he was poor.
Right.
He ain't had no chili.
Yeah, like if you gonna marry a black dude, make sure he got some dough. Make sure he wealthy. Don't bring no broke black dude on.
Yeah.
Gotta be bring a rich black. Go get you a basketball player or something. That's crazy. Brooke was out there dating rappers. That's funny. Nah, but yeah, Hulk Hogan, to me, he the GOAT. I feel like if you really think about it, like he just Michael Jordan wrestling. He's somebody who put the people in the seats. People wanted to see him. He was the face of the league, you can say.
Yeah. It's funny you say some of that, because I was watching something recently. I believe it was Road to WrestleMania 1997, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 14, I believe that was. And Steve said that Shawn was the Michael Jordan of pro wrestling.
No, hell no. He must so like Hulk Hogan. Gotta be, because ain't no way you said that and believe that.
He definitely
Like, for real. Like wrestling would have been cool without Shawn Michaels. Wrestling would be cool without Hulk Hogan. If Hulk Hogan was never alive, never around, wrestling wouldn't be what it is today.
Do you think the Monday Night Wars is a shoot? Like, do you think it was real? Or do you think they were all in cahoots all together? WCW,
Nah, I think
Vince McMahon, Ted Turner.
Nah, I think that shit was real. I think, it was the competition. It was a competition thing. Both of them was trying to win the war. Both of them were trying to win the world war as of popularity. Who was gonna have the best show? And it was and you can tell by the little antics they was doing. Because it was like people don't talk about NWA.
Nah.
People do not talk about WCW, but it was NWA before WCW. And I remember I used to have the magazines. Their magazines was black and white. But they had some classic magazines though. That's when Sting and Lex Luger was cracking. A lot of people don't remember that. Don't even talk about NWA. But it was NWA, and then it turned into WCW.
Yeah, AWA.
AWA and all that.
Were you a fan of UFWs? I think that's what it was.
Nah, they didn't really have like no buff guy like Hulk Hogan. Because back in those days, if he wasn't buff, you didn't really like him. Shawn Michaels is the first dude that people liked that wasn't buff.
Yeah.
I mean, because you think about wrestling, he had to look like a barbaric type of dude, like Hulk Hogan. Shawn Michaels to me is the first slim guy that I can say won the championship belt and won the hearts of a lot of wrestling fans. Or Bret Hart. But Bret Hart used to be yoked though.
Yeah.
Like back in like 1990. Now what was that? WrestleMania 4? Yeah, he was yoked. So I just don't think he was on steroids like most of these wrestlers were. But yeah, man, that was the good old days. But yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, I think it was real, super real, for real. WWF is where the money was, though.
Yeah, that was a good time. I asked that because, man, I be watching sometimes, and I genuinely just be like, is this a shoot? What we been played with this whole time? I almost think the screw job is another one that's a shoot. That wasn't real.
I mean, I think it was just common sense, though. I think it was common sense. Like, Bret wanted to leave with the belt. And Vince was like, you're not leaving with the belt. You gotta find a way to get the belt off of you. You don't get no... I guess he felt because his dad was who his dad was. He get to do what he wanted to do. He get to ride off in a different way. But Vince was like, nah. Like, for real, And it's kind of crazy because at that time, I felt like Vince McMahon knew who was going to be his replacement years before it even happened. He knew Shawn Michaels was going to be that new guy. That was his golden goose. That he felt like, Hulk Hogan gone, this is going to be the new guy. Because remember, once the steroids start coming out, I felt like he had to find a way to put the belt on somebody that wasn't buff. Like, so if I can capture, the fans' minds by putting a belt on somebody that's a slim, that's like a lightweight, and he out there beating up the buff guys, it kind of give you like the David and Goliath type of theme, you know?
Yeah. Rey Mysterio before his time.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think, and it worked good for him. It worked, you know, because after Bret Hart left, the WWE, it didn't miss a beat. It really didn't.
Yeah, nah, they was on fire at that point in time.
Yeah. That's the Attitude Era, right?
Yeah.
Think about it, like all those wrestlers. Shawn Michaels was the one. Like he was the leader of that whole little pack.
You got anything special in the works?
I got some hoodies I'm about to do. And y'all gotta look out for these new hoodies, man. I'm taking it to the next level. I'm excited about bringing these hoodies to y'all because I'm gonna throw something different on these hoodies that y'all haven't seen. You know, I've been saying that I'm gonna do this. You know, I was trying to stay away from it, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do it because it's something that's popping, and it's something that been in my head for a while because one of my favorite artists used to wear it all the time. So it only gonna make sense, you know, and I'm an MJ fan, so you can already kind of see where I'm gonna go. Man, tap in with your boy, man. I am FRESH2DEF Apparel. That's I am Fresh. So number 2, DEF Apparel. And then I got a website that's IamFresh2DEF.com. That's I am Fresh to number 2 DEF.com. Check me out, man. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff in store. You know, I'm out here trying to inspire, you know, people not to never give up and to believe in themselves, you know, and you know, you can do it. You can do it. You know, I'm somebody who been through some stuff. You know, I'm trying to tell my story through my brand. You know, so be on the lookout. You know, I got a lot of stuff that's about to come out. I'm about to drop these new sweatsuits and these new hoodies. I just dropped some beanies, and look out for these boxing shirts I'm about to start doing. And other than that, man, you know, just stay solid, you know. But like I said, believe in yourself. Don't give up. You know, if you start it, finish it. And don't worry about the haters, man. You know, sometimes we can get discouraged about the haters, man. But if you didn't have no haters, then you're not doing something right. So you must be doing something right that you got some haters. And just keep doing what you're doing. Stay having tunnel vision and make it happen. And that's about it.